Hi, I'm Azra anvarsadath. Today I'm going to explain my dissertation topic, study on how to create a sustainable sanctuary through the lens of Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh. In August 2017, thousands of Rohingyans were forced to escape their homes in Myanmar Rakhine state due to armed attacks, widespread violence and grave human rights violations. The world's largest refugee camp is currently located in Cox's Bazar district where more than 900,000 people have finally found protection. Rohingyan refugees are referred to as the most persecuted minority in the world by UN. Women and children make up more than half of the arriving population. Now, speaking about the need of the research, forced migration has created an unprecedented humanitarian crisis because the refugee camps that await them are barely livable. But we assume these camps are impermanent is equally dangerous. It is what caused inhumane living conditions from overcrowding and mismanagement of sites. Refugee camps are viewed as temporary humanitarian aid in our society. However, for young people who have been forced to flee their homes and friends, living in a refugee camp is a permanent reality. Refugee camps are our future cities and homes. It should not be seen as tents that will be packed and moved. Instead of putting their lives on hold, suspending their dreams, and waiting indefinitely, young people should live their lives. If the pattern of the movement that we are currently seeing continues, we must continue to investigate approaches to deal with people fleeing conflict, violence, and persecution while maintaining their humanity, respect, and dignity. Central research question is concerned on how we can fabricate a sustainable living environment for self-reliant Rohingyan refugees in Bangladesh and transform them to an asset for the hosting country. Sub-research questions include the current conditions and challenges of Rohingya refugees in Cox's Bazar, what is refugee camp and its history, what are the effects of refugee camps, and what are the strategies for a sustainable design model in Bangladesh. The aim of the research is to study different practices around the world and to analyze strategies to enable for a sustainable refugee city. And the objectives are as follows: to understand the need for improving standard of living for refugees, to learn about the conditions and challenges of refugees in one of the largest refugee camps, to study the best practices and strategies around the world, to formulate a sustainable strategy for a refugee city in Bangladesh. Hope is by the course of this study, we should be able to analyze how enhancing the design and strategies through sustainable measures on architecture, social infrastructure, technology can generate refugees that are asset to the nation. The study can help us formulate ideas for sustainable refugee cities and learn about technologies and typologies that can cater a sustainable sanctuary for refugees. The limitations are as follows. The research is based on a refugee community of a particular place, thus the inference cannot be generalized. As the community isn't easily accessible, there is a limitation of primary survey data from the beneficiaries. The paper searches for the solutions for a set number of problems faced by a specific group and do not answer different problems faced by refugees around the world. The research beneficiary only focused to accommodate refugees that migrated due to war, political issues and citizenship issues, etc. Topics that were covered in the literature review includes the current conditions and challenges that urge reform, history of refugee camp, the sequence of formation of refugee camp's various urban spatial structure, UNHCR regulations and facilities, the effect of urban structure of refugee camps, the effect of refugee camps, rethinking design model of refugee city, and plastic as a sustainable material. References covered for this study includes these papers and websites. After closely analyzing the research data, I have come to a conclusion that consideration must be given for both families and particularly individually displaced migrants. There are more individually displaced migrants and they have to be carefully integrated. Children must be given proper provisions and must be put forward for their education, and their future must not be kept on hold since they are the essence of future generation. Protection and inclusivity schemes must be put forward for women, children, and single parents, etc. Planning of shelters, at least considering a family of size of 4 to 5, keep in mind the needs of different category of people according to the demographic needs as per survey. From this research data, we can understand the possible critical events in each month and also the current condition of congestion that is faced by Cox's Bazar. Every day, 120 tons of waste are generated in Rohingya camps. The waste problem in the camps, like everywhere else, calls for a long-term solution. Was able to understand there were no such thing as a refugee camp as a disaster or crisis response in the beginning, and the refugee camps that were later created generally were temporary in format, initially provided with tents which later evolved to caravans when given official assistance, and generally had poor design and provisions, just like the UNHCR guidelines which didn't cater for the specific needs of the beneficiaries. In Cox's Bazar, the stakeholders are Muslim ethnic minority from Buddhist-dominated place. More than 50,000 shelters has been built since the crisis and 75% families share them. The materials commonly used are bamboos, ropes, tarpaulins, which are highly vulnerable. There is 93% congestion, which is 8 square meter per person and susceptible to many diseases and natural disasters. There are many structural formations such as cluster, grid, decentralized, centralized, and dispersed, and each of them has their own pros and cons. Rethinking design model for a refugee city, one must include the features of adaptability, functionality, durability, affordability, environmental friendliness, and comfort. It must include sustainable urbanism principles, which includes to contain urban expansion, to create healthy green environments, to develop compactly, to encourage green forms of mobility, to support renewable systems and circular metabolism, to design buildings that consume minimal resources, to establish economic activity, and to create equitable living places. The study, I have come to know the importance to know the microclimatic factors such as humidity, wind, pressure, radiation, heat, etc. The characteristics of building material and the effect of surface, texture and color on the design microclimate are all design decisions that have a significant impact on the comfort level of the living spaces. Open spaces sandwiched between clusters help to create better microclimate. This creates a sense of community safety and ownership of space, open space created by arrangement of shelter unit. Picture references of projects that use plastic as a sustainable building material. Identified knowledge gaps are establishing sustainable practices in refugee camps for Rohingyans in Cox's Bazar. There is a need for more research that focuses specifically on the experiences and perspectives of Rohingyan refugees in Bangladesh. This can help to ensure that any solutions developed are responsive to the unique needs and challenges faced by this particular group. There is a limited research on how to effectively engage refugees in the planning and implementation of sustainable practices in refugee camps, on how to effectively incorporate innovative technologies such as renewable energy and waste management systems into refugee camps to support sustainability and resilience. Overall knowledge gap studied through this interdisciplinary research brings together strategies for sustainable refugee city in Cox's Bazar. Research methodology includes literature case study, which identifies suitable case studies such as Zatari refugee camp in Jordan, Bottle House, Kara Tepe in Greece, documentation which includes data collection, photographs, and formulated variable data, and online and offline interviews. As the community isn't easily accessible, there is a limitation of primary survey data from the beneficiaries. These are the inferences from Zatari refugee camp. Then the inference from Bottle House in Pakistan includes last but not the least, the inference from Kara Tepe camp in Greece includes coming into the discussion, the sustainable strategies for refugee city in Cox's Bazar must include these following measures. Finally, coming into the conclusion, the study focused on the critical need for the long-term solutions to the challenges of refugee settlements, which are becoming a global issue. The study emphasized the importance of designing sustainable buildings and infrastructure that address refugees' environmental, social, and economic needs in addition to their immediate needs. The study discovered that sustainable solutions can provide significant benefits in terms of reducing environmental impact, improving quality of life, and supporting the local economy through the analysis of case studies and design proposals. Sustainable building materials like plastic can, for example, reduce the carbon footprint of the construction process while also providing a long-lasting and cost-effective solution for the refugee housing. Similarly, sustainable infrastructure such as solar-powered water pumps and composting toilets can help to reduce reliance on non-renewable resources while also improving sanitation and hygiene. Summarize, creating a long-term safe haven for Rohingyan refugees in Bangladesh is a complex and difficult task that calls for a varied approach. We can create a better future for refugees and the communities that host them by incorporating sustainable solutions that consider the needs of refugees as well as the environment. Thank you.